Here are the essentials, and I'm going to deal with each of these in turn and take you through exactly what I would do and what I've learned over years. I've done a great deal of training in public speaking. What I've learned over the years works on stage. Let's start with practice. Now, I'm not talking about practicing your speech. I'm talking about practicing speaking. Most people don't. And it's not surprising, therefore, that when they stand on a stage, they're nervous, because we're always nervous if we're trying to do something that's quite important for the first time or we've never practiced it. Practice. That would imply perhaps practicing to your family. They can't run away. Friends, if they'll let you. They may get a little bit bored after a while, so I would suggest joining Toastmasters if you want to practice. That's a very fine organisation. It's global. There's Toastmasters almost everywhere. And if you join Toastmasters, they'll give you lots of practice in speaking in groups and coaching in how to do it. They have a system that takes you through the techniques of speaking, standing, voice, communicating with a room, all of that kind of stuff. Practice, practice, practice. The more you do it, the easier it becomes. Now let's move on to prep. So let's assume you've done some practice and you feel quite calm about the idea of speaking, and you have a really important talk to give to a room full of quite a lot of people. Prep is the next stage, and here I do mean rehearse the talk, and rehearse until you bleed. I don't mind what structure you use. Everybody's different. I like using slides. That's my structure. That works for me. I use Keynote on a Macintosh, and it's a beautiful tool. You may prefer PowerPoint. You might be a PC person. You might want to use index cards in front of you or a piece of paper. Probably, if I were advising against anything, it would be a piece of paper. Because if you're slightly nervous and your hand is shaking, paper vibrates and really amplifies that, and everybody in the audience can see that your hand is shaking. Cards are quite stable. You can hold them with both hands, and they should just have bullet points on. Whatever you do, don't write it all out. So whatever structure works for you is fine. Rehearse until you bleed, and rehearse as if for real. By which I mean, rehearsing is not sitting hunched over a computer going, okay. That's not rehearsing. Rehearsing is doing this. I mean, it's a great idea if you're at home to create a space that you pretend is a stage, maybe with a TV screen behind you with slides on it, if you're using slides. Ask a few friends around to be an audience, or just put some cushions around and pretend they're an audience. Do it for real, with the gestures, with the passion, with every word that you would say, as if for real. Don't under-rehearse yourself. That's really important, because when you come to be on the stage, you will feel that you've done it before and you know what you're doing. Muscle memory is with you. Voice memory is with you. Everything's working for you then. The other part of prep is specifying absolutely everything that you need. Now, I've learned this over the years. You can't over-specify. If you need 16:9 format projection, you need to tell them that. If you're coming with HD projection, you need to tell them that. If you've got video, or if you've got embedded sound, if you want to have your computer on the stage, if you need to have a headset mic, or you prefer a handheld mic, all of these things need to be specified. If you don't want to use a lectern, I don't like using a lectern personally. So very often I've had people remove the lectern. I need a little table for my Macintosh. I need an audio cable and a VGA cable. I bring my own Mac to VGA adapter every time. And I say that it's all in an email, which I cut and paste and which goes out to every venue before I speak to check everything is going to be exactly as we want. So that's the prep. Now, let's move on. We arrive at the venue. It's probably the day before. It might be the day of. Whenever it is, my advice to you is to arrive as early as possible. I have done talks where they say, yeah, there's a coffee break of 15 minutes before you go on, so you can just plug in and do your check then. That fills me with concern, because I've been to so many venues where a problem arises. And if you're dealing with a problem in a coffee break, even worse, if the room is full of the people you're going to be talking to, and they're watching you dealing with a problem with tech people, it's very inelegant, it's very eggy, it doesn't work very well. Generally, I prefer to get to the venue before the doors open. That might be 7 in the morning, might be the night before, and do a tech run through with the tech crew to make sure everything is perfect and there are no problems. It's a very good idea to check the tech, as I've said, and that means go and see the crew, introduce yourself to them, try and remember their names. It's very nice for them. They don't get this very often. If you go up and say, hello, I'm Fred, hello, I'm Julian, and then they're John and Frank, and the next day I come in, hi John, hi Frank, how you doing? All right, good to see you. You have a rapport and they're on your side. They work far better with you, if that's the case, than if you treat them like flunkies, which some people, I'm afraid, do. I've seen it happen. Check the stage, check the walk-on, check where you go after you speak, be clear of your stage directions, check the whole room, make sure that it looks appropriate. If it's your room, you can control that. If it's somebody else's room, there's a limit to what you can do. Nevertheless, you could ask them, is it possible to move this lectern? Is it possible to get some light over here? These kind of things can normally be done. Whatever is going on, expect the worst. Have fallbacks. Bring your presentation, if it's a computer presentation, bring it on a USB stick, just in case, with any special fonts that you might be using on there as well. So that if the worst comes to the worst and your machine blows up at the beginning of the presentation, you have something that you can use on another machine. Even better than that, if the power goes down and the whole thing's a disaster, wouldn't it be great if you're the one person who says, well, I could do my talk without anything. I'll just go on the stage and do it now. You'd be a lifesaver and a hero. So it's worth knowing how to do stuff even without the aids that you've prepared with. If you can just talk, it can be a fantastic thing.